Hey, what's up all you lovely lovelies out there in learning land or observation land? Tyler from tenthumbspro.com, and today I want to talk to you about some things that I accomplished in the last decade. These are personal achievements that I'm proud of, and I just wanted to take some time to share them with you because you know I love you, and I know some of you out there love me. I know some of you out there don't, but I know a lot of you do. So I wanted to share some things I accomplished with you, but I want to know what you achieved and what you're most proud of over the last 10 years. So go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know some of your biggest accomplishments from this last decade. Everybody out there knows that this decade is coming to an end and 2020 is right around the corner. In fact, by the time that I post this video, some of you are going to be getting ready to celebrate New Year's in Australia, New Zealand, and those parts of the world. The last 10 years have been really big for me, and there's 10 things that I want to talk about that I achieved that I'm proud of that I wanted to share with you. Number one, moving to Colombia. So this one took place in January 2010. I'm going to try to do these events chronologically. I graduated college in 2009, so that won't make this list, as an urban planner, and it was the worst job market for people graduating from college in the history of people graduating from the university. So I didn't really know what to do, and in 2009 I took a volunteering trip to Colombia, and I was offered a job, and that job started in January of 2010. So you got me, January 2010, moving to Bogota, kicking the whole decade off with a monster change. I grew up in a town called Augusta, Michigan, which as of the last census, I believe has 712 people. In Bogota, at any given time, in 2 wagons on a Transmilenio bus, you can see 712 people. I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't know how to interact in a city. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew I needed a change. I left a good impression when I was volunteering with the YMCA of Colombia, and they helped me get a job at the Learning Language Center of the University of Javeriana in Bogota. So there I was in charge of the Learning Language Center, which was basically an extra credit place, or a place where people could go that were majoring in languages to get some extra help. So they would bring me their homework and they'd say, hey buddy, I'm having trouble writing this. Can you help me with the language? Or I'm having trouble listening. Can you help me with some listening activities? Or they come by just to talk to me and practice their speaking. Ironic, considering the English language has actually been the hardest subject for me my entire life studying. I got a little bit of dyslexia, but I try not to use it as an excuse. I just have never really been a fast reader. Reading comprehension was okay, but I've never been a great writer. I'm good at speaking the language. I've just never been good at reading and writing the language. So it was kind of ironic that I was in charge of this language center, but I knew at the very best my English was better than theirs. During my time in Bogota, there was a bus strike, and during the transportation strike, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for movement in the city. So the students didn't really have a good way to get to the school. The buses, for example, if a bus was running, other bus drivers on strike would throw rocks through the bus, pull the bus over, take the bus driver out, and light the bus on fire. So with no transportation, school was magically canceled for a week. To talk about just like a random spring break, right? So I went ahead and took like the $100 I had in my pocket, went down and I got a bus ticket to Medellin, Colombia. Never been, always wanted to see it, went down. The first thing I did was I found the YMCA of Medellin. They were doing something with Afro-Colombians that were scholarship students with the United States Embassy, and there was a language learning center there working with these kids at the YMCA. And they were like, a native speaker, a native speaker. So they wanted to take advantage of me being there. They put me in a circle and they asked me what I did, and I said, I'm an English teacher. Now at this point, that wasn't necessarily true. I was more of an English tutor at that point. But the director of the school was sitting in that circle, and I was actually offered a job at Medellin, Colombia at this point. So that job actually started in July, and my contract finished in June in Bogota. So I went back to Bogota, finished my contract, and moved to Medellin, which leads me to my second accomplishment of the decade, starting my career as a teacher. I've always considered myself an educator. When I was in high school, I taught skateboarding at a skateboard camp. When I was in the university, I taught kids how to swim at the local YMCA. Educating has always been a passion of mine. I've always enjoyed the social aspects, and I really like helping people achieve their goals. So when I was offered the opportunity to become a professional teacher at a professional English language institute, this was really, really exciting. So I jumped at the chance and I started my career as a teacher. I took to the profession like the duck to water. I really, really was well liked in the university, or in the institute. I was well liked among my fellow teachers, even though I was the youngest. At night, for example, the average age of the student in my 620 class would probably be about 35, and I was just turned 25 at the time. So I was even substantially younger than most of my students. But I was well liked by my students, by my professionals, by the bosses, by everybody, and I was having a great time. So at the end of 6 months when my contract was up and I was asked to renew my contract for a year, I jumped at the opportunity. I said, that sounds like a fantastic time and I would love to do it. Fast forward to 2011 in July. I've been in Colombia for a year and a half. My Spanish is improving. It's broken. It's not fabulous yet, but I'm able to communicate. I'm able to be independent. I can go to the grocery store. I can ride a bus. I can buy plane tickets. None of these things are a problem, but I don't have really profound relationships at this point. So during the week-long break in the summertime, I went back to home and I visited my parents at the YMCA where my father worked at. When I was there, I found a broken guitar. It had 2 strings on it. It had a hole in it. It was beat up. So I asked the people at the YMCA if I could have the guitar, and they said, under one condition, you got to learn how to play it. So July 2011, this is now 8.5 years ago, I got my very first guitar and I started my musical journey as well. To this point, I had no musical background. I don't come from a musical family. My dad even drives with the radio off. He's a pretty deep thinker and he's always kind of thinking. He's got the Elon Musk thing going where he can't really turn his head off. For better or worse, I have that too. But I drive with the radio on because I like to sing along. So I'm starting my musical journey, and in 2011, I started my guitar journey, which was really, really cool. Fast forward to accomplishment number 4, I got engaged and I got married to my lovely wife, Luz Yadira Gomez Hernandez. Being the strong woman that she is, she definitely did not want to take my last name. So before we got married, we decided to move to USA for about 3 months so I could show her my culture, so she could get to know my family before we got married, so we could do some things over there. Around the same time, we decided to move to Buenos Aires, Argentina, but I'll get to that in a minute. Marrying my wife was number 4, but in that time period when we were engaged, I did my number 5 accomplishment, which was start to play ukulele. I was at the YMCA and I was the opening lifeguard. I would be at the pool around 5:30 a.m., open the pool around 5:45 a.m., and usually get my first lap swimmer around 6. If a lap swimmer didn't come at 6, water aerobics started at 7 a.m. and I would have an hour empty in the pool. At that time, I got a $40 ukulele because I couldn't take my guitar to the pool. And a year into playing, I become totally obsessed with the guitar. And I would use that hour before my first swimmers would come to sit in that pool. It was like 97 degrees in the middle of summertime when I'd have to ride my bike at 5:15 in the morning to get there by 5:30 a.m. And I'd sit there an hour and a half watching the sun come up, playing ukulele alone in this pool. Now this is a year after the guitar, so we were talking 2012, and that's the birth of my ukulele journey, and I have been playing ukulele for 7.5 years now. Summertime is over, September comes, my wife and I, we get married, and we decide that we are going to move to Buenos Aires, Argentina, where she's going to do her master's degree at the University of Buenos Aires, which leads me to accomplishment number 6. Number 6 was the backpacking experience that I had from Lima, Peru, all the way to Buenos Aires, Argentina. This 9 weeks was an incredible experience. My wife and I had everything that we owned at this point. I had to leave an ukulele behind. I had a guitar and I had a bag of clothes, and she had a bag of clothes and a hairdryer, and we were just road tripping all the way down to Buenos Aires. We didn't have a place to live. We didn't have any jobs. We just had the money we saved up from that summer and some faith that as long as we were putting out good vibrations, good karma was going to get us through this. I got diarrhea in every single country, no joke. I never learned my lesson. I just like to eat strange things, from fried ants to whatever. It's a cultural experience. What am I supposed to do? Say no? And I still haven't learned that lesson. This was amazing. We went to Machu Picchu. We volunteered with the YMCA in Peru. The YMCAs along the way helped us. You know, they provided beds for us as long as we volunteered and worked with the kids. Hung out in Bolivia, Lake Titicaca, Copacabana. We went to Chile. We went to Atacama. Atacama is the driest place in the world. And we came down through Uyuni. And when I was in Uyuni, it's the highest desert in the world. And I came down and I was sick from something I ate in the desert. I lost like 3 kilos or 7 pounds. Oops, someone's at the door. So we get to Chile, and this is Atacama, supposedly the driest place on earth. We're talking over 1,000 years, maybe a centimeter of rain. When we got there, it had been raining for 3 days. It rained more in 3 days than it had in 10,000 years. Even the immigration building didn't even have a ceiling, so we were sitting going through immigration in the rain. All the streets were flooded, mud everywhere. No one could leave because the highways were flooded and everybody was stuck in the city. It was really, really difficult to find a place to stay. I think we got the last room in town, and the room where we stayed, the bathroom didn't have a roof, and I was still feeling sick. I spent the night sitting on that toilet with water up to my knees, sitting in a flood, praying that there was nothing swimming in there that was gonna bite my toes off while I was sitting in the bathroom. earlier in the day that I found this other dude that didn't have any food that was also stuck in Bolivia, and I gave him a banana. That same guy, when we got to the city, saw I was sick, helped us get a room, and then he went with my wife to a pharmacy to help me find some medicine. So that banana kind of saved my life. And that goes back to this whole story of like good karma, where we were just going to trust the vibes and we were just going to do the best we could. At the end of the 9 weeks, we came in through Argentina, through Mendoza, and they almost didn't even let me in because I needed to pay some kind of reciprocity fee that you have to pay online. I didn't have a credit card up to this point. I only had cash. I had to pay some random American $200 to buy this $160 thing for me. He almost didn't do it because he was scared the money was fake and then I was hustling him. I had to be like, come on, bro. I mean, this money's clearly real. Please, please help me out. He didn't have any change, so I overpaid. But long story short, I ended up getting into the country. It took so long. When I finally got on the bus, everybody on the bus was cheering for me because they had to wait an hour in the middle of the night in the middle of this mountain just to help me get into Argentina. Which leads me to number 7, moving to Buenos Aires, Argentina from 2013 to 2015. This was an incredible experience. I love that city. When I go to cities like Paris, I think, man, I wish I could have spent some of my 20s here. When I go to New York, I think, man, I wish I could have spent some of my 20s here. But I'm really, really grateful that I got to spend some of my 20s in Buenos Aires. It's one of the best cities on earth. It's so musical. It's fantastic. You can find music everywhere. One time I was walking back and I told my wife I was going to be home at 8. My phone died. I was walking with my ukulele and I heard this lady go, "Vos tocas?" Like, do you play music? And I had my ukulele and I said, yeah. And she goes, "Violin?" And I said, "No, it's actually an ukulele." She goes, "Come on up then." They invited me under the roof of this house where she was working this huge barbecue. There's about 8 people, 8 girls on this barbecue cooking beef, cuts of beef that were gigantic, and 4 guys that were making music. And I sat and played music with them till 1 or 2 in the morning. We drank some mezcal that they had in Mexico, and then all of us went to the disco until 8 in the morning. I got home 12 hours late. In any other city, I think my wife would have killed me, but in Buenos Aires, that was kind of normal. You went out and people just invited you places. It's the friendliest culture, although it can be kind of aggressive at the surface. You can, if you're a musician there, the amount of artists and the way that people treat and value friendship is so amazing. I had such a wonderful experience in Buenos Aires. I love that city so much. If life moved me back to Buenos Aires, I would do so in a heartbeat. Buenos Aires is also where accomplishments number 8 and 9 took place. 8 was I learned to speak Spanish. When I lived in Colombia, I taught English at an English institute. And I spoke English all the time. All my peers spoke English. In fact, they wanted to speak English with me because they wanted to practice. My wife was bilingual. I met her. She's Colombian, but she could speak English and Spanish. When I got to Buenos Aires, I made a lot of friends that didn't know 3 words in English. Entonces, después de 2 años, ya aprendí el idioma muy bien. Y es más, empecé a hablar todo argentino, así, che, qué pelotudos. ¿Y por qué estás haciendo eso? No me digas. Para. ¿Y qué sé yo? All of these things. I really, really mastered the language there and became very proud of my ability to speak Spanish and became fully bilingual. It was also at this time that I started Tenthumbs. I would come home from teaching English at these institutes and I would play ukulele, and I said, you know what? I'm going to throw up some videos on YouTube and see what happens. Tenthumbs Productions actually started as a way to teach home production and to teach you how to make music at home. And then I threw up a video on ukulele and it did much, much better. So I just kept rolling and feeding that machine. And people kept watching, so I kept making videos and I kept making it more organized, more serious, gave the videos times and dates, added guitar, and people really, really loved it. So I just kept pumping into it. And Tenthumbs is how you're watching me. If you know this, you know Tenthumbs. So that was a huge part and is a huge part of my life. I'm very, very grateful. Tenthumbs has changed my life. With the advent of Patreon as well, I'm able to do this exclusively, and I'm very, very grateful for the life that I live, and it's a way for me to continue to be an educator and a teacher as well. More than a YouTuber or anything like that, I consider myself a teacher of music, and it's really, really great to have the opportunity to be able to teach you this lovely instrument that has changed my life. All right, lastly, number 10 actually took place this summer. I bought a Eurovan and I did a 3-month road trip through the United States. In 2017, I rented a minivan and went with my band and we drove around USA jamming, but I wanted to take that a step further, and this was a lifelong dream for me to live the van life. So my dad helped me find this van, and he and I helped. Well, he got it because I had to send it to his house, and I sent him the money. And I have this old Eurovan, and I spent the whole summer driving around 23 states, 15 workshops. I met countless ukulele players. I hung out with great people. I did the van jams. It was a great experience. I got to know Bernadette better. I got to know Timmy better. I got to know Matt better. I got to know Terry better. I got to know all these other people that you see on YouTube a lot better as well. Had a great experience. Went through the Redwoods, went through Oregon, went camping in Utah, public land, went to Colorado, jumped off cliffs, went swimming in canyons, played concerts, partied in the city until the sun came up, stayed out in the desert until the sun came up, until the sun went down. I did all kinds of things that I'd always wanted to do. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I hope to do it every single summer, except we're kicking off next year with a European trip. So those are quick 10 things that I did that I'm really, really proud of this last decade. Again, let me know what you did that you're proud of. Leave it in the comments below. And I look forward to recapping in 10 years, 10 new things that I accomplished. Keep on pushing your boundaries. Keep on trying new things. Keep on doing things that push your limits. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Do things that make you feel scared. The greatest treasure that you seek, the greatest treasure is in the cave that you're scared to go in. I'm paraphrasing a little bit from that book, The Monolith, The Tale of One Hero. There are things, what you really, really want is going to scare you, all right? Whether it's playing in front of someone at an open mic, learning an instrument, living in another country, speaking another language, all that really, really good stuff is the scary stuff. So push yourself out of that comfort zone, and I'll catch you in another 10 years with another 10 things that I did. And I hope that you can share 10 things with me that you accomplished in the next 10 years as well. Have a lovely day. Keep on rocking and rolling. Life is good. Take care of yourselves, friends.